So Kohl's has always been one of my faves, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit because Kohl's is sideways, but it's a much slower up and down, right? Slower up and down chop. So what you have to do when you have slower, what when I say slower, I mean that the bottom reversal to the top reversal is taking a longer amount of time, but it is going through a nice dollar figure. So you can actually profit off of that additional dollar figure. And it's just a slower moving, would actually is quite useful for some of us traders that aren't able to hit the signal right at the moment that we get it. So what you have to do when when you've got something that moves slower is you have to use a slower signaling, right? And so one of the things that this is using our free indicator SIP. I'm going to pull away the indicator that I was using for analyzing the broad market. And instead, I'm going to pull in an indicator that I set up to look at coals. Now, this is the same indicator, the same free indicator. It's just got different settings. Let me review those settings. This is just the traditional MACD. It's not the fast MACD because this is moving slower. So this is the normal MACD, but I'm calculating it based on volume weighted average price versus close. So the normal MACD is a 12, 26, and 9. And so if you set up your indicator as a MACD indicator with VWAP as the price and 12, 26, 9, all exponentials, don't put on the one bar reversal filter. And I think that what you're going to find is a nice end of day indicator for trading coals. Now, you could definitely modify that further if you think that you can get it better. But, and again, this is an end of day indicator. So you'll need subsequent day trading follow through to actually place the trade. But when I analyzed this indicator, the normal MACD, with end of day follow through, I got my signals. And so I am looking for a top to form here, a signal to come my way. It hasn't come yet, and so I'm waiting for that end of day signal followed by subsequent day follow through. But when I get that, there's a whole bunch of things I can do as an options trader. If I'm initially getting into a position, I need to set up an initial, what we call a covering position. I can either short some Coles stock if I have a margin account, or I could buy a deep in the money, far out in time put option. And the one that I'm recommending, at least right now, is the Coles August 2024 $40 put. That's the one that I think. And again, I got to wait till I get my signal. When I get my signal, I may change my opinion altogether. But right now, that Coles August 2024 $40 put looks like a nice substitute for shorting the stock. And that way I can use a cash account. So that's one thing I can do when I get that signal. If I'm in the position already and I've got some protective calls that are in, part of my trade, I could, when I get that signal, I could liquidate those calls for a profit. It's called rolling those calls out. So that's another thing I can do. And finally, if I had bought some calls or bought some substitute call options when it was at a low, when I get this signal, it would be a perfect time to sell some premium. And so it's writing the covered call. And right now, again, it might change, but right now I'm looking at the Coles January 19, $28 call. And at the same time, I would buy some protective puts. And I'm looking at the Coles April 17 and a half, or even, I've been talking to some of my folks in my actual paid program about tightening up their trade zone. So I could see also doing the $20 protective put. So, yeah, so many choices on Coles. Again, we're waiting for that end of day MACD signal SIP. But man, there's all these trades to be had on Coles. And it's one that if you miss it by a day or two, That's fine. You're gonna be fine. You could place the trade and still be set up for profit. So I really am liking Kohl's going into the holiday season.